Have you ever wondered why it is that human beings are so drawn to spirituality? You know, even the most hardcore atheist can't escape the fact that almost wherever you look throughout time and history and place and culture, human beings exhibit this great desire and leaning towards spirituality and religion. Look back through history, and we have always been spiritual creatures. Some of the earliest artifacts that archaeologists have uncovered from antiquity are often concerned with religion, are religious objects. Wherever you look around the world today, the majority of human beings are deeply concerned with spiritual things. I remember a few years ago when I lived in Canada, a very, very secular nation. You'd have thought a country that's moved beyond these things. I remember getting a small aeroplane from Vancouver to Vancouver Island, opening the in-flight magazine, and there was this 8-page article on ghosts. How to know if your house had a ghost, how to befriend the ghost, how to get it to benefit you, and so on. And I found myself thinking, interesting, even in very modern, very secular countries, all that happens is in spirituality bubbles up in strange ways. We have sort of new religious movements, new agey kind of movements. People are into all kinds of things. We are profoundly spiritual as creatures, which raises an interesting conundrum, doesn't it? If evolution is the only game in town, to quote the words of the famous atheist biologist Richard Dawkins, where does spirituality come from? I mean, surely if evolution is the only force operating, then really all that should concern us are questions of survival and reproduction. But the amount of energy that we invest in spirituality and religion is fascinating. Where does that come from? Well, the famous philosopher C.S. Lewis, well known today as a Christian thinker, but for the first 30 years of his life was a committed atheist. Lewis, when he was in the Christian stage of his life, explored some of these questions, and he made an interesting observation. He said, it's interesting when you think about it, he said that every innate desire that we find in a creature or an animal, including ourselves, maps onto something in reality that can fulfill it. So, for example, a duckling wants to swim, has a desire to swim. There's such a thing as water. Human beings, we feel hunger. Well, there is such a thing as food. We have a desire to drink. We feel thirst. Well, there's such a thing as water. We have a desire for sexual intimacy. Well, there is such a thing as sex. Every innate desire that we find within us, there is something out there that is designed to fulfill it. So, said Lewis, therefore we have to ask the question, if this desire for a spiritual connection is pretty much universal across humanity, the only really logical explanation is that was built into us for some reason. And if evolution didn't do it, which seems incredibly unlikely, is it not far more likely that the reason it is there is we were in fact created by the God who stands behind this universe, who designed us for a relationship with him? And that is certainly what the Bible would say in answer to that question. And in fact, one of the most famous Christian writers who ever lived in history, Augustine, in the 300s, once remarked, he said, "Our hearts are restless as human beings until they find their rest in God." And you can try and ignore the spiritual, you can try and sort of scratch that spiritual itch in all kinds of strange places. Or you could take a look at the life of Jesus, who claimed not to be just somebody with some spiritual ideas, but actually claimed to be the God who had created us, come in flesh and bone, so we might actually understand and know him better. And it was Jesus who said, "I have come that you might have life and have it to the full." I suggest to you that desire for spirituality that's universal across humanity really is significant. Don't try and avoid it or distract yourself from it, or sort of push it away and not think about it. But ask yourself the question, what does it mean, and how do I find that which is designed to fulfill it?